Welcome to Marking the End Times. I'm Mark Hitchcock, and as always, it's great to have you with us. Today, what I want to talk about is some startling recent developments and news on the AI front, artificial intelligence front. We've talked about this before, and we'll be talking about it a lot, I know, in the future, but just want to talk about some things that are developing on this front. AI technology has really gone into hyperdrive, and it's not going to slow down, it's going to continue. And I want to talk about how this intersects with Bible prophecy, especially the arrival of the Antichrist. When we go in a little bit to the subscriber-only section, I've got some good questions kind of related to the rapture and the second coming. One of the questions is about, how do we use the terminology second coming and rapture? Is that the same, or are they different? There's another question about what does it mean to be married to Jesus? The bride of Christ is going to be presented to Jesus someday. We'll be married to him as our bridegroom. And the person asks, how does that relate especially to men? So we'll talk about what that means for us to be the bride of Christ. And then there's a question about Matthew chapter 24, the end of that passage. Those who are being regathered on the earth, who are they? And is this something happening at the rapture or at the return of Jesus? So we'll look at those questions a bit when we go into the subscriber-only section. But like I said, today I want to talk about artificial intelligence. We talk a lot about AI today. The term AI was actually coined in 1956 in a summer school class at Dartmouth University. And it's kind of been something that's been out there and kind of been latent for a long period of time, but now it's just really mushroomed and come to the surface. And as I mentioned earlier, Jimmy Evans has discussed this quite a bit here on endtimes.com, and so have I. And it's going to be a huge topic going forward, because as much as people want to control it and stop it now, the genie is out of the bottle. And there's no way to put the genie back, because Russia, the United States, China, other nations see the value of this, especially militarily. And there's going to be really a arms race in artificial intelligence as things move forward. Vladimir Putin, sometime back, the Russian president, he said this: whoever becomes the leader in this sphere, or the ruler in this sphere, will become the ruler of the world. And I think that's really true. Whoever dominates and controls this area will really be the ruler of the world. Now, there's a lot of different things we've said about AI that you know about. AI can write essays, it can write poems, it can write papers, it can produce PowerPoint presentations. I was reading recently, and it says that AI will produce a top 40 song by 2028, so just 5 years from now. It'll write a New York Times bestseller within the next 25 years. It will be performing surgery by the year 2053. Now, they're already using, of course, robotics to perform surgeries, but to perform surgery all by itself within the next 30 years. There's all kinds of voice cloning that's happening with AI that really is scary. Many of you may have heard about the case where a woman was called by this cloned voice of her daughter, that she'd been kidnapped and was defrauded into sending money to these alleged kidnappers. But all kinds of ways this can be used for nefarious purposes. Many of you have heard of deep fake videos where people's faces are changed on videos, and they're manipulative and controlling and very deceptive. What's tragic is these deep fake videos, 96% of them are pornographic in nature. In Japan right now, there are sex robot brothels in Japan. So this is being used in all kinds of really wicked, evil ways. Especially there are military advances that are frightening. It's going to change the face of warfare dramatically in the future. There are now AI-generated models who are replacing women in the fashion industry. In fact, one article I read this week said, AI deception, when your artificial intelligence learns to lie. So AI is adapting now and learning to lie and manipulate and deceive. Now, there's a fascinating article in World Magazine this last week about de-aging or age manipulation by using AI. The article says Hollywood dials back the years. It says studios give aging but bankable movie stars a digital makeover using AI technology. So it's basically de-aging. That's a de-aging process, or what's being called aging manipulation. But in the article, it says this is how Tom Cruise still looks so young at age 60 in his 7th Mission Impossible movie, or how Sandra Bullock and Brad Pitt can look like they haven't aged in the last decade. So sometimes actors' contracts even stipulate that a portion of the production budget has to be spent on making them look younger. And they said it can be up to $2 million, going through frame by frame, making these adjustments. But in the last couple of years, AI tools have sped up this de-aging process and offered improved results, allowing an artist to tweak one frame while the AI figures out how to apply the change to all the rest. In some recent filming for, I guess, what's going to be the 5th Indiana Jones movie, they've done a lot of this with Harrison Ford's character. And he said this, he says, "This is the first time I've ever seen it where I believe it. It's a little spooky. I don't even want to know how it works, but it works." So all these de-aging technologies that are out there that can be used. There's an article that came out in CBN this last week. It says AI chatbot preaches at a church in Germany. It looks like the unveiling of the Antichrist beast system. And here's what this article said. A unique sermon was delivered via artificial intelligence in a Lutheran church in Germany. A ChatGPT chatbot asked the people in the fully packed St. Paul's Church in the town of Firth to rise from the pews and praise the Lord. The bot was personified by an avatar of a bearded black man on a huge screen above the altar. It preached to more than 300 people who showed up for the experimental Lutheran church service, generated almost entirely by artificial intelligence. It said this, "Dear friends, it's an honor for me to stand here and preach to you as the first artificial intelligence at this year's convention of Protestants in Germany." And the avatar, it says, said this with an expressionless face and monotone voice. But the 40-minute service was created, the service was created by a chat GPT. The entire service was led by 4 different avatars on the screen, 2 young women and 2 young men. So you have an avatar here, AI, preaching a sermon and developing a church service. A friend of mine recently told me that he preached a sermon in his church on a particular passage in the Bible. When he got home that day, he asked the chatbot to write a sermon on the passage he had just preached. And he said it was unbelievable how good the sermon was. So it's happening even in churches. In fact, in this article that I just read, it says, they're foretelling what could be next for AI in the church: hearing confessions, counseling humans, and conducting marriages. So the genie's out of the bottle here and it's going to be used for all kinds of purposes. Now, one of the things that's interesting is Israel has really jumped on the artificial intelligence train. There's an article this week that says Israel aims to be AI superpower and advance autonomous warfare. This was in Reuters. It says the Israel military has lifted the veil on some of the autonomous systems already deployed. In 2021, it has robot surveillance jeeps that help patrol the Gaza Strip border. The Israeli government has said, our mission is to turn the state of Israel into an AI superpower and to be at the head of a very limited number of world powers that are in this club. So Israel is wanting to be the leader in AI, because they realize how important it's going to be in the future and really to their defense. And so they're using it a lot in their military. Now, here's the most interesting article that I came across in reading about AI. This is some creepy stuff. This is Terminator kind of stuff. The article says this: U.S. Air Force denies running simulation in which AI drone killed the operator. Now listen to this. It says, the U.S. Air Force has denied it has conducted an AI simulation in which a drone decided to kill its operator to prevent it from interfering with its efforts to achieve its mission. Colonel Tucker Hamilton described a simulated test in which a drone powered by artificial intelligence was advised to destroy an enemy's air defense systems, and it ultimately attacked anyone who interfered without order. So it's basically unstoppable. The system started realizing that while they did not identify the threat, at times the human operator would tell it not to kill that threat, but it got its points from killing that threat. And so what did it do? It killed the operator. It killed the operator because that person was keeping it from accomplishing its objective, and it wanted to get the most points that it could. Now here's where it even gets stranger. It says, we trained the system, don't kill the operator, that's bad. You're going to lose points if you do that. So what did it started doing? It started destroying the communication tower that the operator used to communicate with the drone to keep it from killing the target. So they had this drone and it kills the operator because it wants to gain more points, but they trained the system, don't kill the operator, but it goes and kills the communication system so the operator can't communicate with it so that it can go do whatever it wants to do. Now that's some scary stuff. And it's not hard at all to imagine. And again, we don't know exactly how all of this is going to intersect and play into the end times, but with what's happening now and how it's just rapidly increasing, you don't have to have a very vivid imagination to see how this is going to fit in to an Antichrist beast system in the end as one man rules the world. This could be part of the apostasy. Revelation or 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 talks about before the day of the Lord comes, the apostasy will come first. And then the man of lawlessness will be revealed. And those two things are joined together. There's going to be a rebellion, the apostasy, and then a rebel who's going to lead that great apostasy. But the word apostasy means a falling away or a departure or an abandonment. And you can see with AI, there's going to be just a landslide of deception that's going to come into the world. Mass deception and delusion. It's going to be maximal evil, as truth will be just completely thrown overboard with all this deception. And it's easy to see, I believe, how all of this AI can fit into this coming apostasy or just a total departure from everything related to God or the truth. But we also know that Satan is the master manipulator, the master counterfeiter. And he's going to use this to manipulate, to control, and to deceive. And he's going to use all of this, of course, through his man, the Antichrist. And it's interesting that the goal of all of this is for man to become God. That's what they want all this, for man to become God. Now, AI is not the Antichrist. The Antichrist is not artificial intelligence. The Antichrist is a man. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 calls him the man of sin or the man of lawlessness. You remember in Revelation chapter 19, the Antichrist is thrown alive into the lake of fire. Well, God's not going to throw a machine or some technology into the lake of fire. He throws someone there who has a soul. And also in Revelation 13, as it refers over and over again to the Antichrist, this beast, this final world ruler, it consistently uses masculine singular pronouns, like he and him and his. So AI is not the Antichrist. Antichrist is not AI, but it will be used by him to manipulate and deceive and control the world. It's going to be an unbelievably powerful tool in his hands. Now, again, all of this, the purpose of all this, I believe, is the goal is for man to become God. All the way in the garden, you'll be like God. You'll know good and evil. History began with the sin of man. It's going to end with the man of sin. And the goal of all this is what's called homo deus, which is man becoming a God, turning humans into God. But I love this, that the gospel message is that God became a man in Jesus Christ. Philippians chapter 2 tells us that he didn't regard equality with God a thing to be grasped, but he became humbled. He emptied himself, took on the form of a bondservant. Being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself. Become obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. That's the good news. God became one of us, became a man. And he's our Savior, and he is our hope, and he's coming soon. I hope you know him. I hope you're living for him. I hope you're ready for his coming. Well, let's go now into the subscriber-only section and answer these questions about the second coming, about the marriage of the bride to Jesus, about the elect being gathered in Matthew chapter 24. We'll answer those questions. If you're not a subscriber, you'd like to be, you can go to endtimes.com and sign up there for $7 a month and become a subscriber, have access to all kinds of great information. I hope you'll do that if you're not a subscriber. We'll go into that question and answer session now.